And we're going to do a meditation to connect with the heart and connect with any parts that might be blocking the heart, any parts that might be like a wall around the heart. Maybe old wounds, maybe bitterness or fear, panic or shame. Maybe parts that are looking after the heart. Maybe parts that have become hard or not hard or even soft or different ways. What's happening around the heart? Is there a part that's walling the heart? Are there parts that are looking after the heart? And what could happen around the heart? So just taking some easy deep breaths in through your nose, out through your nose. Being very gentle, very soft with yourself. Noticing your body, noticing your breath, noticing the rise and fall of your chest, noticing your shoulders, your arms, your elbows, your wrists, your hands. Noticing how you are, how you're feeling, what's happening for you right now. And noticing also your big self, if you can. Noticing that self, that part of you that's always there, that part of you that's always feeling whole, part of you that's always connected. So we're going to notice different parts in this moment, but also noticing that part that's always whole, always calm, always there for you. Just very gently, slowly breathing in and out of your nose. Noticing your body, noticing your heart, the back of your heart, just noticing what's around you, what's happening to you, what you're feeling, what you're aware of. And as you're doing this, I'd like you to notice what parts are there, or if there's a protective part or a wall part, or there may be parts connected to or around your heart. They may be connected to the part of your body that's near your heart, or it may be near your heart, or may not be there, maybe outside your body. Just notice what's around your heart. Could be the front, the back, or different parts. Are there parts around your heart? And what do you notice? Do you see is there a wall part or a protective part? Just notice what you notice. Again, you might see something or experience something you might not. Just notice if you notice something around your body or in your body. Notice if you see or feel or sense something or sense sensations. What does it feel like, or what do you sense it's like? What are the sensations? Are they, we can have sensations that are tingling or bumping or thumping or pushing or squeezing? Or what do you notice when you notice this part or parts around protecting your heart? And maybe there's a part that you could particularly pay attention to. Just maybe, if it feels okay, just see if the other parts would allow you, if they allow you to give you some space to go and chat to one particular part at the moment. And just see if you can go and chat to one particular part that may be protecting your heart. And as you chat to this part, what do you notice? Do you notice any images or like creatures or people or symbols? Do you notice it? And you might not. And then I'd like you to just chat to this part and ask this part what it wants for you. And what does it fear would happen if it wasn't there? What's its fears? And does this part, can it sense you? You, your big self you. And how do you feel towards this part? How do you feel towards this part? And is it aware? Can you let it know how you feel towards it? Can you let it know that you're there? And how old does this part think you are? Just take that in. And then if you can, let it know how old you really are. Let it know that you are a fully grown adult with resourcing, with abilities, with intuition. Let it know how old you really are. And if you can ask this part, does it feel burdened? Like, does it feel like it's doing a job on its own, or if it wasn't there, it would worry what would happen? Just can you ask it? Do you feel a little bit burdened? Are you carrying a lot? And see what it says. And then if you could ask this part, would it like some relief if it is burdened? Would it like to unburden a little bit? Let's see what it says. And if it would like to unburden, can you imagine creating some space for it to release a little bit? Can you imagine creating maybe a platform or some space where it can be supported to release? Or something that you could imagine that helps this part to feel like it can let go, if that's the correct thing, if that's what it wants to do, if that feels right. And what happens to it if it does release? And was it protecting a more vulnerable part that needed protecting? Was that what it was doing? And if it was, can you give space to that more vulnerable part? Can you give support? Can that vulnerable part know that your big self part is here? Your big love is here? Can there be some compassion with the vulnerable part? Can you imagine love coming into all these parts? And just imagine that vulnerable part being looked after, being held, being loved. And then thank this part and the vulnerable part if it came. Perhaps imagining that this vulnerable part can be really given somewhere beautiful, like in nature, to play or to be held. And just notice if there's any other parts around the heart. See if there's another part that wants to be connected to. Just notice if there is. And go to that part. Just check if there is another part that wants to be connected to. And what does this part say? And how do you feel towards this part? And if there's any negative feelings, that might be another part coming in. Can you ask if there is negative feelings for that, for the negative feelings part, just to take some space? Say thank you for coming in, but could you give us a little bit of space, just for a little bit while we connect to this part? Just ask it if it can give you a little bit of space. And if it agrees, just come back to this part. And just notice what you feel now for this part. And does this part have a relationship with you, with your big self you? Does this part know you? And what does this part feel like? Where is it in your body or around your body? Or any sensations that you feel with it? What do you notice? Any images or feelings or connections with this part? And what does this part say that it's doing for you? What is this part's job? And how old does this part think you are? Your big self you. And can you let it know how old you really are? And how resourced you are and how adult you are? And notice how it feels once it knows your true age. And if you can ask this part, what does it fear? If it wasn't doing its job, what does it fear would happen? And what does it need? What does it need and want from you? Can this part feel you? Can this part start to connect with you, the big you? And is this part also protecting a vulnerable part? And can you imagine also, does this part need unburdening? Is this part feeling burdened? Is it carrying a lot? And can you ask it, would it like to unburden? Is there anything it would like to release, let go of? And if it would like to, how is that feeling now? What's happening to it? What's it noticing? And is there a vulnerable part that part's been looking after? Is there a vulnerable part there? And could you give space to that vulnerable part? Maybe allowing that vulnerable part to be held, looked after, be in nature. And can you imagine your big self part, or perhaps the guardian of your heart, perhaps a beautiful part of you, to really look after the vulnerable part and to give space to unburden, if it feels okay, that part around the heart. And just notice what you notice. Notice what's happening. And if you can thank these parts, the protector parts, the vulnerable parts, your heart, for whatever they've done, whatever they're doing. Tell them they make sense. They've made so much sense that they're looking after you. And if they've been able to unburden a little bit, thank them for that. If you've been able to find space for your vulnerability, thank them for that. Thank the vulnerable parts. Just if you can, just send some compassion to all these parts and let them all know that your big self is here, or if it feels like you want to, your guardian of your heart, or whatever feels good for you, the resourcing. Just let them know the resourcing is here. Imagining lots of compassion coming into this space. And whatever else is needed, supportive, loving energies is needed. And just allowing any releasing that feels okay to be released right now to go into the earth for healing. Just giving that sense of care, of love, of kindness. Just checking within yourself for anything else that needs completing. Checking any parts, saying thank you, that you can always return, you can always connect again, you can come back. Just for now, thanking these parts for working with you, for allowing you to come in and connect and attend, to know, to get to know. This is relationship work, so thanking them that they've been willing to allow you to connect and find out about them. And very, very gently rubbing your hands together and giving yourself a little bit of a hug, moving your body, moving your head, and just allowing your body to be a little bit, that's nice, just moving your body a little bit. When you're ready, opening your eyes. That's lovely.